And welcome back to the Off the Clock Show. You're joined once again with Shawn Gervais from OrbisX CRM and Marshall Hill from Pints and Polishing Podcast, as well as hyperClean Car Care Products and recent releaser of Stack.
Stack.
That's right. Oh, I like that. Stack. That's the. It's gotta be the Stack. That's it. Do you guys ever do jingles for product releases?
I just did.
I just.
I knew you were going to ask, so I went ahead and did it.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I was definitely gonna ask it.
How was my jingle? It's pretty good, right?
Yeah. It's jingles. See, that's it. You come here for jingles and tips. That's the new thing. Yeah, oh man, that makes me think of this movie. You ever see this movie called Senseless?
Hmm.
No? Oh, good movie. One of the Wayans brothers is in it, one of the funny ones. But he takes this experimental drug to he needs money, he's going to school and needs money. He takes this experimental drug and it's supposed to heighten your senses, and it does. And so he becomes like he can see really far, he can hear really well, but then he has side effects where he can hear too well and he can't turn it off, and like then he loses his feeling and stuff. Anyway, his roommate got a Prince Albert piercing on his downstairs bits, and then he was like, listen to the jingle, and he was shaking it. Craziness. Yeah, but that was a good movie. Actually, that was a really good movie.
It was like it was a back in the day movie.
Oh yeah, that was a oldie but a goodie. Yeah, that was a
Mhm.
that one's from, oh man, early 90s I want to say, but maybe
It would have to be. I mean, they got out of what was
late
that?
90s. No, late
What
90s.
was the knockoff Saturday Night Live that they did on, like, for
Oh
us? I think it was
yeah.
like Channel 41 or something.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
but whatever that was, then those guys
Those
started
times are
getting a couple of
coinciding.
shows.
Yeah.
Was it White Girls was one of them?
Yep. Yeah. White Chicks.
White Chicks,
Yeah,
yeah.
And it was that's another good movie.
In
But
Living Color, was it? Was that the
uh
original show they were on?
you
In
know
Living
what?
Color.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy actually? We just rewatched one of the seasons or something, but with the kids. And I remember my daughter, she was making a comment about how the screen looked, and then she said you can always tell when it's one of those olden day movies. And I was like, yo, calm down, man. For me,
All
that was
day, like,
yesterday.
damn,
Jesus.
man.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that hurt. That
Because
hurt.
right, that's how I knew the olden movies, right? Like you could tell the difference. Like,
Yeah.
so, ouch.
Yeah, hurt big
Mm.
time. It's
But you
true.
know what? Not every new movie. I watched this movie Joy recently.
Joy.
It's a cool story actually. It's about a lady who invents stuff, and she invents the ringless mop or whatever. This was
Okay.
like back in the day, Home Shopping Network or whatever. Like, remember that? And it
Yeah.
was like these
Oh
closers
man.
that would go on and like sell the stuff, right? And that's how she finally ended up making her way, right? She finally got to sell it. But
Yeah.
half this movie, I'm sitting there looking at it going, I mean, I can see this is like this the backdrops, the screen sets. I'm like, y'all did this a
Yeah.
little cheap, didn't you? Like, come on. I didn't even really, if that's a house, that's not a very good house here. I could tell I
Yeah.
mean, they should have at least showed maybe she was living in at that point in time, like a mobile home. Cause it sure looked
Yeah.
like the inside was a mobile home the way it was rickety. It was
Yeah. It's
like,
true
come
though.
on.
When you watch those old ones and you catch those little things where it's like, for me, it was whenever I'd watch action movies and cars would blow up. And back then they were using
Oh
like
yeah.
the
Back then,
miniature
yeah.
car and then like flipping it over and then like
you,
expanding.
you'd see
Yeah.
the car go and then this like blast of explosion, but you'd see like the little sparks still coming, it's like,
Exactly. Yeah.
so we watched back. So I was in this movie club in high school, right? I don't know why, but it was fun, right? It's called
That's
the
dope. Yeah.
Walker Fan Club. And it wasn't
Okay.
it wasn't Walker, Texas Ranger. It was a movie called Walker, who it was so old school that they would shoot, right? And then like you would see the ketchup packet or like whatever blood squirt. So this was some
Yeah.
really cheap budget film made
Jesus.
in the like the 70s of Hollywood, right? So you
Yeah.
can imagine what all these
Yeah.
people were doing on set. And like, I mean, so it was, we just laughed the whole time, but that paved the way for then watching stuff like Clockwork Orange and all those like
Yeah.
really different types of movies that were more like, not normal culture, right? So
It's
the
true, yeah.
pop
That's where
culture
it's
type.
kind of cool though. Like back then too, the creativity they had to use, to
Mhm.
you didn't have like, post-op where you can do like touch-ups with, like the computer CGI and all kind of stuff. You had to For me, it was I read the book about the guy that made El Mariachi. I don't know if you ever saw that one, but he made that whole movie. I think he took a loan for like, I don't know, $10,000 or something, and he made the whole movie, and it became like it was either the one that followed up Desperado or the one before. I think it was the one before. It was El Mariachi. Maybe I'm getting them reversed. Anyways, whichever one he did first, he wrote a book about it and he took out a loan like 10 grand and he made this movie. But to blow stuff up, which happened in the movie, was expensive. So he had to find like creative ways of, like making stuff happen. It was a really interesting story. I don't want to give away details because I honestly just don't remember them very accurately. But it was an interesting read. I'll look it up and I'm sure a movie made about it now, but
That
it's
walker,
interesting.
I remember like they even did the whole like lay on the ground and squirt the blood like after
Oh
they
yeah,
got
yeah.
shot. Like, I mean, all that stuff. You go,
Oh
how did this
man.
make it? We watched another old, I guess you want to call them old school movie now, and I'll throw out a couple quotes, see if you can remember what movie. One of my favorite actors, Matthew McConaughey's in it.
Mm,
And there's
no
a
shit. Yeah,
quote
yeah.
of, "Thank you, sir, may I have another? Thank you, sir, may I have another?" And it was a very interesting education as we talk about, bullying today, the way it goes on, and being able to educate the other
Yeah.
people in my house of, yeah, back in the 80s, this wasn't but 40 years ago.
Yeah.
This was what bullying was. You got out of 8th grade and you got your ass beat by people in high school.
Yep.
And people in town didn't care. It was all part of culture,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
wild, right? The 70s and 80s were, you
Yeah.
actually got to watch them drink beer at 18 and smoke
True.
cigarettes, smoke weed. Like, it was, the 70s was a wild genre, like that year. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
It's true. It's funny that's where the difference between like, I was telling you before the podcast, my daughter's having this issue at school, and so anyway, she's gonna stand up for herself and handle it. But as part of that, we were shadow boxing last night. She clocked me one good one, man. Like my lip almost got split open, no joke. I got cut here. Like it was pretty. I got beat up by a 9-year-old last night. That was basically what happened. It's fine. It didn't change my tip though, so take that. But so I told her the story though. When my dad, I was getting bullied as a kid. How I first got into boxing was my dad said, "Well, listen, like you got to pop them in the nose." He said, "Nobody likes getting popped in the nose. Doesn't matter how big, small they are, whatever." And so he's like, "I'm going to train you how to fight." He's going past this, I don't know, garage sale or something one day, and he sees these two big blue mats. They were like wrestling mats. Brings them home, and I came home from school just another day, thinking life is good. And he's like, "Hey, I need you downstairs." I'm like, "All right." I come downstairs. He instantly just throws me on the mats, starts pummeling me, and he's just beating the shit out of me. And he's like, "Don't turtle, don't turtle." Obviously, I'm just turtling, and he's like, "No, no, no, fight back, fight back." That went on for 2 years straight. Every day I came home, straight downstairs. It got to a point where I would just come home, put my bag down at the door, and just walk downstairs. Like I just knew. I was like, okay, and that happened. But that got me into boxing, and then it toughened me up. But toughened me up in ways not for necessarily a physical fight. That obviously was part of it, but it was more all the other characteristics that come with that kind of hardness, like being prepared for the world and being prepared for adversity and discipline and all those kind of things that you need. But so as much as like they were wild times back then, like I mean, my dad, he registered himself for school in grade 3. He had to walk to school, filled out the papers, registered himself, go home, head back to the store, get his mom a pack of cigarettes, come back. You know what I mean? Like that's what that was just life back then. But yeah, so but it kind of builds a certain character that I haven't quite seen with this new flock of people that are this new generation. I don't know. Without getting too much into that, you know, people were built different back then. And although I will say what I have seen a lot of lately, some of the people you might think from our generation were built to last. I've seen some of them kind of crumbling under the pressure recently of the current economy, the current there's always someone to blame, right? It's always something else out there, and that's why my business is doing this or that or something. I've seen that a lot. And for me, it's a sheer lack of creativity, intuition, and a lack of drive. Just to like, I don't even want to say motivation really, because motivation is almost like an external force that has to motivate me. You know, I think what comes from inside isn't motivation. I think it's drive. I think it's that hunger to just, you know, go out and find something. And that's why I'm always like, my competitors see us and they're like, Jesus, these guys are always, you know, 20 steps ahead. And it's because because we have that drive. We're moving at all times, you know. And so yeah, I was listening to this guy 2 or 3 days ago. Anyways, he's a ex Navy SEAL, all kind of stuff. And he was talking about certain things, you know, like what you would expect, you know, wake up at 4:30 and this and that and everything. But he said, honestly, he says, doesn't matter. He says, this whole work-life balance thing is bullshit. He says, it's just doing stuff. It's action, it's execution. And he said, imagine you're separated from your whole family's gone, and you're just plunked down in a forest. He says, a lot of people are going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out where they are and where they should go and this and that, and they haven't moved a muscle. And he said, my platoon, I was a leader, but I wasn't there to tell them what to do. I needed people that if they were plunked in that forest, they're just going to start walking. And if it means that they're going in the wrong direction, they're going to pay attention, look for clues, and they're going to realize I went the wrong way. That's okay. Double back and go the other way. But at least they started going somewhere, because chances are you're going to go, you know, the right direction to wherever you need to go. But most people, he said, just spin around in that circle, you know, not doing anything, and they never leave the forest, you know. And I think that's what we're seeing now, is a lot of people just plunked into this forest, this detailing forest, you know, and they just spin their wheels, and they're not going anywhere, and they're not sure what happened. But it's always, you know, it's it's because there's this tree there or that tree there. It's always something else, but really it's a you thing. Yeah.
And this migration, like we talked about last week, right? This
Yeah.
economic migration, you know,
Yeah. It
you're the one spinning your wheels. You're going to be the one that gets picked off. Like, I mean,
100%. Hey, the money's there. The money's always there. It's just where it transfers to. You know,
yep,
money just flows, and it'll, if you go out of business, it's that those customers are going to flock somewhere else, because
you
people
go
aren't just
somewhere. Hmm.
stopping spending. Like, I mean, even when people were locked down in their houses, you know, we all went through that. Spending was still at like an all-time high for most business. It's crazy. And you
Hmm.
got to think, so there's almost nothing that could stop us from being consumers. And so it's just,
Yeah, because you got
oh,
to put on the other side which is why it's supposed to be car care products in the next year, a $5 billion industry, is
yeah.
because it is getting tougher out there. So people are starting to do more stuff on their own.
Hmm.
And the amount of, which is going to be part of my tip, is the amount of people starting to reach out to us saying, hey, in between appointments, people are asking how to take care of their car. Like,
Yeah.
they don't want to sell their car. They
Yeah.
don't.
It's
They
true. People are
need to
keeping
take
them
care of it.
longer and
Like,
longer.
they
Yeah.
have to. The we're talking about the economy, inflation, and all that. You got to look at them too, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is the other part of business that I've never really understood. Some people, where they just think they're going to tell people everything. You know, like, well, my customers are going to get this, and this is the way it's going to be. It's like, cool, dude.
Yeah.
You do
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
Great, man. No, I like to know my customers,
Yeah.
learn who they are, understand where they're,
Yeah.
that
See
to
what their
me is
needs
the
are.
relationship in business.
It's
And
true.
so it really does. You'd mentioned it. You pre-qualify customers,
100%. Yeah. We
and,
interview them just like they're interviewing us. We
we're going
want
to
the
have
right customer.
we're going to have a discussion this week on the Pints of Polish podcast with Brian Mildren about, this idea of detailers going, hey, I didn't want to get out of bed for less than $100 an hour.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
There you go.
That
Huh?
one before.
What? Like,
Yeah.
you understand what's going on around here? Like,
Yeah.
it,
Absolutely.
you
And
seeing
that's,
anything? Like, your
see,
customers, your people that you're depending on, they might be in trouble
mhm.
or could be doing great. It all depends on how you chose, how you
Yep.
deciphered through your customers. And as we go through this migration, you're right. The people that can't quite figure out what to do in this moment, it's going to happen fast. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah, I've already seen it happening fast with a lot of businesses, not just in the detailing industry, but all industries too. I've been
oh, yeah,
paying
it's
attention to
not
what's
just
going on, and
detail.
it's
Yeah.
just across the board. Yeah, but
Mhm.
you got to think the trickle down effect. a lot of other businesses, like, I don't know, I've never really encountered it too much, but in the detailing industry in particular, what I've seen is there's a lot of pride that goes into, which, it's good to be prideful, but sometimes your pride and your ego can get in the way of your success. And I've seen it more in this industry than others where I'm something different. I'm something more than what maybe I am. It's definitely a lot more prevalent. Like
And
I
I think it's
yeah.
because we're working with our hands and we're taking something and we're transforming it.
Mm,
And we're putting this value of what it does.
yeah.
Right. And it held a dramatic value for a moment.
Hmm.
But that value was also determined based on an economy that nobody had ever seen before. I mean, economy was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And
The
you want
gold
to
rush.
mention 2020, the
Yeah.
amount of governmental money that got thrown into the system so that people were spending like wildfires. And so
Oh,
all the people that got in business in 2020 and 2021, they
yeah.
didn't know any better than,
It's true. Because they're like, man, there's customers
oh,
everywhere.
it's amazing. This is crazy. Right.
It's like, yeah.
In their
Okay.
defense, they didn't really know any better. We tried,
Yeah.
like you and I heavily, over those times, really tried to talk about it. I know I
Yeah.
specifically, like, it's wild.
I remember, yeah, about almost 2 years ago, I think we were on a podcast together and we were talking about how the tides were changing and people need to buckle up.
Yeah.
And that was like 2 years ago. And then a lot of people didn't buckle up.
No.
They just said, "Oh, no, my business is doing great. What are you talking about?" And they just kept going, and then they didn't see that.
Right. Sure, man. Go in that river. We got to cross the river sometime. You want to go that way? There's crocodiles there. Ah, no
Yeah,
worries. I'm going to go this way.
it's
We've
true.
gone
Yeah,
through this way. We were one of the gazelles that got through, right? Like,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
always
yeah.
some that get
There's always,
through.
of course,
It's wild, isn't it? Like, but then I
it
saw
is.
one. This was the crazy where you watch the migration. You see these were like smaller deer. They weren't even like the big guys, right? So they were
Okay,
a
yeah.
bunch of these little like maybe like springback or something like so little small or bach or
Okay,
something,
yeah,
right? So smaller.
yeah,
And
yeah.
dude, they go start swimming across, and they're those ones that like bounce.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there's these giant gators just sitting there, and like a
Oh,
couple
man.
of them make it, and then it's like
Oh,
whoosh,
yeah.
whoosh, and they go like within
God.
5 seconds, like 8 or 9 of them just got like annihilated. Like they just were bouncing across, and then like suddenly these giant jaws open up and like whoosh, whoosh.
Oh man,
Oh, it was brutal,
brutal. Nature's
brutal. Like the other ones were like, "Woo," like hold
yeah,
on,
yeah.
let's not go there. Like,
Oh man, that's wild. Nature is nuts though. But one thing I like about nature though is because nature, they always have tough times, right? Always. Like living in the real world, like out there in the forest, that's tough, man. And you can see, and the weak ones, usually those are the ones that get pecked off early, right? And the other ones, they,
strong
persevere.
survive.
And they exactly. And it's so true in all industries. And so
Mhm.
there's don't get me wrong, there's some that are crushing it that look at the industry and they're like, I don't know what everyone's talking about. Like things are perfectly fine. But that's because they've got a well-oiled machine that's already doing what it's supposed to do. And they're forecasting in the future, looking for opportunities to keep that machine going. Right. It's the ones that just do business as usual. They're not doing that extra because even when it's great, we still act like there's a scarcity. Like even when things are okay, so you know what, we're fully booked up. Great. How can we add more? We got to add more because that's growth. You got to keep, pushing yourself. You got to keep getting more customers because then if there are any dips, it does feel like business as usual because you're just pulling those jobs in. And so that's where there's a taco stand opened up around us and we helped them out during the
Oh
winter.
yeah, this is
When
cool.
it
Yeah.
yeah, so it was well, not winter, but the transition between winter and whatever we're in now hasn't been too sunny, but um it was a little bit cold. You got a cold
Down
snap.
here in the middle part of North America, we call that
Yeah.
spring.
Spring. Yeah, yes. For us, I'm calling it the tail end of winter because it's going up and down too much. I can't take
I
it.
know English up there isn't the same as down here, but
Yeah,
that
no,
word is
very
is
different.
spring.
Spring. Yeah, yeah. Well, for us, the tail end of winter because they're predicting snow again and all kind of nonsense. Anyway,
Extra maple sauce. Let's go.
yeah, yeah. Maple sauce. Absolutely. And so,
It's
but
a
yeah,
tail of winter. Pile it on. Let's go.
pile it on. Let's go. Yeah. Nothing like that on a cold day. But so that's it. It's funny. That's not our national dish. It should be though. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna set up a like a I don't know a campaign or something. But yeah, so they're speaking of
A
food
video
though.
call for 1 hour.
Yeah, for 1 hour video call. Yeah. It's true. Exactly. Yeah, this is what you did there. Nice. And so not gonna happen. No show, baby. But you gotta learn how to deal with the no shows. There's this taco truck. Well, they sell more than that, but anyway, let's call it a taco stand that opened up near us. And Snap Freeze comes in, so we realized that they were getting less busy than they were before, no foot traffic, stuff like that. So we went and we said, listen, we're going to buy lunch for all the guys and just send them over there. And so we'll do that for a month, and that'll help you out, stay afloat, everything like that. Man, the guy was so happy, blown away. Our staff's happy. Everyone's winning here. Our goal, though, was because he opened up just around the corner, was to find a place that's disrupting the social patterns that we're seeing, where people are just very task oriented. I leave my house, I have a list, I'm sticking to the list, I'm going to Costco, I get XYZ, and I'm going back home. You know, that kind of shopping mentality a lot of people are in nowadays. They're not just going out
Because they
for
don't have as much to spend freely. Stuff
exactly.
starts getting, we call it tightening of the belt.
Exactly. So those days of, hey, you want to go shop at the mall for the weekend or something? Like a lot of people aren't doing that anymore. A lot of people can't do that anymore. So how do you get in front of the eyeballs, especially when people are also spending less time on their phones doing certain things? People still spend a lot of time on their phones, sure, but a lot of people are opting to get off of, social media because some people don't like the abundance of ads and all kinds of, there's a lot of stuff going on. Marketing's changing. And so not seeing those changes is detrimental. So we start paying attention to things. We say, okay, we can keep funneling money into the saturated market, Facebook, Google, all that kind of stuff, or we can scale back on some of that and we can invest some time and energy into other avenues as well, and then see how things pan out. And so what we did is we started working with the taco place. Man, I tell you, he has referred us so many customers. It's ridiculous. And the reason it was ideal was people go there. He's got some little picnic tables set up. People get some food. They sit down and he talks to all of them. He's very animated, very social. First off, he's now a customer, which is awesome. But he talks to everybody. So we're like, man, if we can win this guy over, he's kind of like a YouTube influencer just in real life. So next thing you know, he's like, man, our food's amazing. You got to try it. You should, next time you come, you should try this, and by the way, the people next door, like the Auto World, you got to go check them out. What kind of car do you drive? He just chats and chats and chats because we did that one little thing, that little gesture helped him out, makes him realize he's part of our network, our community.
Hey.
Oh. Whilst at the same time, he's got the gift of gab. He's charismatic. He talks to people, sends us a lot of customers. And so what it cost us, first off, it raised our morale at the shop because everybody's happy. They're getting lunch. They feel taken care of. While at the same time, the new customers coming in from just that alone, it's like, holy shit, man, the cost of acquisition is so low compared to if we were just taking a chance and just throwing out a bunch of lines on Facebook and this and that. We can still get good conversions online for sure. But
Uh,
the
uh,
impact in person, no worries. Yeah. So the impact in
yeah, the
person
impact in person is
been phenomenal. And it started with recognizing, and we started realizing this 3 months ago, a lot of the culture around shopping has changed in our community. And so we have to address
good.
that community. Again, there we're going to be hammered now.
But I was gonna say, I hope listeners when they hear this, right? Because we're week in, week out, maybe 3 weeks out of 4. Okay. So
Yeah.
sometimes we have shit that comes up, but it's constant. Hey, here's something you could do. Hey, here's something you could
Yeah.
do. Hey, here's something you could do. And I just, while you were talking about that, I remembered a pizza place that I kind of did the same thing when back in
Beautiful.
the day, right? His name was
Yeah.
Frank Savastano. And
Beautiful.
we first just started buying pizzas, but then we wanted to work a deal and then we took care of his. And I just go, how does somebody that's listening hear here's what has been done, here's what you should do, and then doesn't actually go try and replicate it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that to
And
me is always going to be the most astonishing thing of putting out tips week in and week out, 3 out of 4,
yeah.
whatever, right? Like the listeners that have listened should by now. I mean, the bouquet has got to
Yeah.
be like the size of a flower delivery truck at this
Yeah.
point.
It's true.
So at least take one
Just take
and
one.
go kill it. Like
Absolutely. And
if
you really only need one, and then get that rolling smooth, and then take another and implement that once the other one,
exactly
you
right.
know,
And
yeah,
so
they're
think of
building
a
blocks.
restaurant, but you can't go chain. You got to go local, and you got to figure out how to meet the decision maker.
Yeah.
Is that a taco truck? I don't know. Is it a Chicago style pizza place that is somehow in Tulsa? I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know, right? Like something that is unique to your area where you can actually get in front of the decision maker,
Yeah.
and you're going to have to give him something
Yep. Oh,
to get
100%.
his time, to
Yep.
get his referral, because his business is now, you're asking his business to put out a word of recommendation. So
Yeah.
his name is on the line.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And a good way to do that as well, that we've done in the past, is we give them something, and that something usually is our service. So we find out, what their vehicle situation is. We'll take care of their service so they can experience it. And what we found is that, yes, we're giving something away, but you're not just giving it to some random customer you hope is going to come back. You're giving it to the door, the gateway into potentially thousands of customers. And so it's worth it in that case. It's an investment.
And it's got to go both ways.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I think so many people get into this situation and they go, well, yeah, so I've done my work. I gave him some free. And now I just, no, you
Mm,
invested through a whole month,
hmm.
not a one meal.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
got to
that's,
pay to play.
oh
Same
yeah,
as we say
100%.
in marketing on social or Google or
Yeah.
anything. You got to pay.
Yep.
Same in this.
Exactly. There's no free
Don't,
lunch. There's no,
don't just go to some guy that's a high net worth or a high, a high performance guy or somebody like, don't waste their time.
yeah,
It's going to waste your time. Okay. Like
100%.
make it worth their while here. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
100%. And there's tons of these businesses out there. And the cool thing is that if you look in any plaza, there's just like mom and pop shops all over the place
Everywhere.
that do this and that. We get so
Nail
focused sometimes
salons.
on the
We did it
chain.
at a nail salon.
Nail salons are great. We've got one
Mhm.
upstairs, amazing. And it's funny because sometimes these things can go like other ways too. There's another place that's so there's the nail salon, and then beside that one, there's this Filipino restaurant, and there's an Asian restaurant there as well. The Asian restaurant, it's so funny because so many of their customers are our customers. We go back and forth, but we've never actually worked anything out together, and we don't refer each other necessarily. Like I do sometimes. It's one of those authentic Chinese restaurants. Like it's not like American Chinese food, but it's on. We have this brochure for when there's tourists coming directly from China. It's I think stop number 8 or something out of 10 that the places they must see in our city. Anyway, it's I don't know why, because they just came from China and they want food from anyway. I guess they're homesick already after a few days. But so they go there, but a lot of their regulars that come in, they've got really nice cars, really, really nice cars, and they want to maintain them, so that's a big thing. So we get a lot of customers, but not by working with them. And the point I'm getting to is that we actually have a lot of people that we could be sending them, but they've never taken the time to show any interest in us. So we just kind of coexist side by side, but there's no working relationship there. And the reason I mention it is because there's probably a lot of shops out there where you might be in a plaza and there's 4 other businesses, and maybe you've never even gone into one of those businesses, you know? And so maybe it means changing your routine a bit. Maybe there's a tailor that works next to you. And so maybe a dry cleaner or something. So maybe take your stuff there to try it out
And
instead.
don't do that. Let me leave my business cards at your
Yeah, no.
register. Don't
Oh
do that
man.
shit.
Yeah,
Come on,
don't do
please.
that.
Don't do that.
And
Let me pin up my card here on this. Don't do that.
mhm.
Don't
And
do
you
that.
know what kind of customers you're gonna get with that, right?
Yeah. Right.
The wrong ones.
That's shitty marketing.
Yeah. And don't tell me like, oh, I've done a lot of stuff. My business should be
Yeah.
booming because I did that and I did this.
Mm,
That doesn't count. You might as
doesn't.
well just throw it in the garbage can, What we want is like the guy with the taco place, we haven't even left him any print materials, nothing like that. And a big part of us did that on purpose because
Yep.
number one, he tells them just check out the website. So they're going to go on their phone. So this way it doesn't cost us extra stuff. People are just going to throw away anyways. But the biggest thing is it actually piques their curiosity and they just come in. That's what we find.
Hmm.
recently, since we did that, the amount of walk-ins, we don't accept walk-ins, it's all appointment only, but the amount of people walking in, they're like, oh, I was thinking of booking an appointment. I just wanted to check this place out because the guy across the street was talking so much about it, And so they're just coming to check it out. They're like, I didn't even know this was here, So it's like, it's just a whole experience, but it all started
Absolutely.
with that first interaction.
Yeah.
And there's other businesses around us, but we've pretty much worked with almost all of them to some capacity and continue to because they're our neighbors,
Mhm.
and it's what you got to do. It's
It's true.
community. I got to stop saying,
Community.
Jesus.
Hey, I know you got multiple tips, and let me just throw mine out there real quick.
All right, sounds
I know
good.
I took most of last time, so I get it.
There we go. See, exactly. This I brought
But
him
I
in.
know, let me just get in there first, and you can just go to town.
Get the sloppy segundos. Okay. Sorry. All right, hit me with it.
So, we're talking about maintenance, right?
Yep.
Is really
Yeah.
the
The
ultimate.
core theme, yeah.
It is the core theme. It is like,
Yeah. Now more than ever, too. Yeah.
and it's because it's been so the other way.
Mm-hmm.
These fucking assholes going out on TV and talking about how amazing they are and all this turnaround that they do on making a vehicle turn around look amazing, and never ever then zero discussion of maintaining the vehicle after
Yeah.
the work is done. Why are so many of us so proud of us as detailers? It's because we're craftsmen that are, I call us basically artists.
Mm.
We can take a vehicle. I mean, just so to see the artwork that they do, and then to hear some of these people that were on TV, to listen to them on podcasts, and then listen to other people talk from their mouth and say, no, never maintain a car. Send that work to somebody else. Hey, there's gators if you cross the river here. Might cross the river down this way.
Yeah.
Never maintain a car.
It's a strange mentality. Yeah.
Strange mentality. And so I'm going to give this tip, and this is a very salesman tip, right? I think a lot of reason why people talk about never maintain, or that they might get to this point and they haven't. Geez, the amount of people that listeners could go back over the last years using OrbisX and go, wow, these people got coatings and never came back into my business.
Mm.
That's a tragedy.
Yeah.
It is a tragedy.
Yeah.
And why are you the listener, and why are people not taking immediate action to go back and get those customers into your maintenance?
Mm-hmm.
Why? It's because you don't believe in maintenance. Oh, wait, no, hold on. The best salesmen always believe in what they sell. So if you're not selling maintenance, that means you really don't believe it. And here's my challenge. Here's my tip. And it's something that I've invested in myself. And that's why I know it to be true. Over the past year, since we bought the vehicle that my wife is now driving, I have done my absolute best to every weekend go wash it out in the driveway or in the garage, somewhere on my property, wash the vehicle.
All right.
There's a couple of times, sure, I've had to bring it in here to the warehouse, right?
Yeah.
I get it. But I've done my absolute best to week in, week out, care and maintain the cleanliness of that extremely well used, from soccer mom to business owner that's running her car around all day, right? I have chosen to take time to maintain that vehicle.
Mm.
And what results are we seeing out of it? I've got 4 other neighbors the other day. I shared this story recently that we had this is storm time in the Midwest. And we always feel for all the people that from the storms there's some people that go through some real hard times. tornadoes do cause massive damage, the same as hurricanes, the same as other natural disasters from different listeners in other parts of the world to country, right? But for here in the Midwest, it's tornadoes. And I'll share you a video, Shawn, of the other morning of getting woken up
Oh
to the
man.
sirens. You know, like it's
Jeez.
it's part of the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
so there's people that do get messed up. Okay. Uh we had about 3 hours or so. I mowed the yard and then I washed the vehicle
All right.
and was starting to look around and 4 other neighbors. Now, after a year, and I go, okay, these guys all knew the window. Why? Because
Yeah.
I'd seen them and I'd been to over the past year, I'd seen them randomly out there, but now there's a window. And they knew that they also needed to go out and clean their vehicle. And there was a
Mhm.
small window.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
go, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yes. Like, and so it began to multiply. And I look forward
Yeah.
to walking over and talking to him about, you know, it's a great time to offer hey, what do you like to use? Hey, let me show you the way I
Yeah.
like to do it. And this discussion about the professional proper, because while I know that they're fucking some shit up, I'm not judging them.
Yeah.
It's hard for detailers not to do.
But it's a key.
So
Yeah.
key.
Yeah.
And you just discuss,
Yeah.
right? I believe in maintenance. Therefore, I'm able to discuss the best way, the proper ways, what they could use to do better.
Hmm.
I sell maintenance because I believe in it. My challenge is go clean your car every weekend for a year. Like out in your neighborhood, right at your front door, right at your doorstep. If you're an apartment, if you're at a
Interesting one. Yeah.
whatever, I mean, people are going to deny ways they could do. Okay. Use Eco One, waterless, rinseless, right? Like figure out ways to do so that you clean your fleet, your vehicles, whether that's your girlfriend's, your spouse, your husband, whatever,
Yeah.
every weekend. I guarantee you, you'll start to find ways that you can sell how to keep your vehicle clean to your
100%.
customers. Absolutely. And the more
Man.
conversations I'm hearing
Yeah.
week in, week out is, hey, my customers have been asking how to take care of their cars. I'm tired of sending them links, or I'm tired of sending out. And so they ask about, and the best shops that we have right now doing distribution is because they stop letting those customers walk away and go buy off of whatever and stop sending links and
Because they're
go,
gonna go spend somewhere. You know
gonna
what I
go
mean?
do it somewhere.
Yeah. 100%.
I'm watching people visually start to increase the amount of times they care for their own vehicle.
Yeah.
We're hearing it from people, phone calls. It is factual.
It's true.
There's a better way to cross the river right here. Stop
Yeah.
sending links. Actually have products on your shelf to give them, to sell to them, to build into packages, whatever you want to do.
It's true. Because reality is, a lot of the maintenance customers, like I know a lot of ours, they take care of their vehicle in between visits. It's not like they
Absolutely.
just wait until a good case in point is my pool. I have maintenance people, they come every 2 weeks. Guess what happens in between time?
You get a big old thing and you
I'm
scrape stuff out, right? Like
exactly. I'm
you
still
have to
taking care of it.
maintain the cleanliness of your pool.
Exactly. And that's what happens, you know?
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of thing, like in between my own visits to my own shop. You know, I always wondered too, like we don't do mobile, we have a shop now, but I always thought if I was to start over again, it's a fun game to play sometimes, you know, you think like
Yeah.
if I started over and I was going to go mobile 100%, I was like, where's good places to find some initial customers? And no joke, if you're in a situation where you've got a day where you have no jobs or something like that, I would just drive to like a parking lot somewhere and I would set up an A-frame sign and I would start washing my own car. And then it's amazing. You're gonna get some people that are looking over and they're like, oh shit, what's that about? You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Start some conversations And it could be simple, be like, oh yeah, I'm doing this for a customer. You don't even have to say it's your own car. You know what I mean? Like there's stuff you can do, but
So, but I think that
think
the
that's
reason why I
cool.
brought up the sales thing of like, if you don't actually do it, you don't
You're
know how
not
to
gonna
sell it.
believe
And
it.
here's how you sell it. Hey, I know this weekend it's going to be 85 degrees. I like this hyperclean glass cleaner because when I'm finishing up my detail, I know it's going to be 85 degrees. I'll spray, make sure you spray it this way, get a good clean spray, give it right. And you have the detail experience. You can
Yeah,
now educate your customer on the exact spray pattern
yeah,
because you know it. He
yeah.
doesn't. You know how to put tire shine on without getting it flinging all down the side of your vehicle, but he doesn't.
Mm.
Right? Like you know the things,
Yeah, yeah.
but maybe since you don't do it week in and week out, you don't know that you could sell it to him because you know the problems that arise and the things that you have to overcome while you're out on your driveway.
Mm.
It
Man.
is different than sitting in a shop.
Oh,
Like
100%.
it's much different.
Completely different environment.
So start doing it. Then you'll know how to sell and you go, listen, I'm never going to carry products. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
Tell them then on a weekly service of why you need to be back there every Saturday. Oh,
100%.
wait, I don't work Saturdays. All right, man. Go down this side of the river. Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead. I'm going to cross
exactly.
over here. But you go down that part of the river. All good, man.
It's so true. It's so funny, the whole thing. Like I work 7 days a week. Do I work the same amount of hours or the same, you know, I don't know, intensity, I guess, for lack of a better word, on every single day? No, but some days it's a Tuesday or some days it's a Wednesday, but I definitely work every single day of the week, especially when
Mm-hmm.
certain things are knocking. If there's opportunity knocking, I'm there. And same thing with our staff. Most of them they requested Saturdays. And we get guys that say, no, 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 I want to come in on Saturday. I want the extra cash. Or even some of them are just like, listen, man, I had my kids all week. Can I come in Saturday? Like it's an escape for them. That happens. You know what I mean? So yeah, I never understood that mentality, but I very much like a big part of what you said was the demonstration of it. Because
Right? You
it's
have to
huge.
know the struggles
Yeah,
in order to sell something.
yeah, it's
It's key
true.
101s of sales. It is.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been out there week in, week out, washing and cleaning a car,
How are you supposed to confidently sell that to? I mean, you could
oh
sell it,
man,
but it's
you
going
can
to be a
say, oh
much harder
man, wouldn't
sell.
you rather be watching the game? You're right. Sean and I have talked about ways to sell otherwise. Like, you're right.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to the actual
Yeah.
sales, you often have to know, get down to the nitty gritty of, man, you're going to be cussing at that window. And I know because I
Yeah.
see those
Hmm.
smear marks when I come back every month. I see them and I didn't put those there. So I know you're struggling with this front glass. That frustrates you, doesn't it? Uh
Hmm.
huh. So when you go
Yeah.
watch the game, you go in there cussing because you didn't get your windows clean, right? Uh huh. Man, let's solve that peace of mind, right?
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
have to know the struggles if you're really going to sell. And you
Yeah.
have to be it known that you've done it. You believe in this. You believe in what you're doing because you have done it
It's true.
week
And
in, week out.
that's a good challenge. And I hope
It
everybody
is.
listening takes you up on that. Absolutely. And you know what, too? I bet you, I haven't looked into the numbers, but I bet you that the search queries that customers are entering in for how to maintain their own vehicle, they're not going to type in the same terms we're thinking of, so we have to focus on that. And they might get very specific on a certain problem. Maybe they're okay with how they clean their seats or something. They're not just looking at the whole package like we would with the term maintenance necessarily, but they might be searching how to get streak free windows or something like that, or how to clean my engine bay, or who
Why are
knows.
my windows foggy?
You know, yeah, exactly. So I bet you if someone was to put out some YouTube videos also, or some Instagram or TikTok or whatever you use, if you put out some quick videos on certain things, you're going to tap into some of that traffic. But I always like the idea of doing a demo day as well. And I've thought about it. We haven't done one, but I feel like we should for maintenance customers. It's kind of coming to me as I'm talking now. I'm feeling like a demo day where we kind of cover some problem areas for free and just people can come in, and then we do like a promo in our network to get people in, something with hot dogs and get the kids involved, whatever, and then show people how to get, perfect windows or perfect mirrors or something like that in their vehicle. And then it's a good opportunity to start those conversations. But I'm a big fan of demoing products, and I'm going to jump into one of my tips here because it's about demonstration. And that's why I really liked how you brought that in with the, demonstrating. First off, living it and breathing it so that you can sell it confidently, but then also other people are seeing it and piquing their interest as well, because it's all about starting a conversation. And I think that a lot of what I've seen in the industry is people assume that if I put up the information on my website and I've got, a little blurb here, and well, the customer is going to do their research and they're going to kind of sell themselves on whatever it is, that they should know all these industry terms and they should know this and that. And so when they call you about it, you don't have to spend a lot of time talking to them and convincing them that whatever solutions you have are the right ones for their problem. A lot of people feel they're just going to come in and just know. And so it takes me back to the 60s. I know we've talked about a few different time periods here, but we'll talk about the 60s. There we go. So 1964, Volkswagen trying to boost their sales of the Volkswagen Beetle. And they released a commercial. I don't know if you've ever seen this commercial, but it's a really interesting one. And speaking of weather as well, they showed an ad. It was a quick ad. I think it's only maybe like a minute long or something like that. But anyways, it was an ad and it just showed dark, gloomy, snowy day. It's nighttime or early morning, I should say. And they just show headlights start. That's it. They got those two, the iconic, the round bulbs there. That starts, and then you see someone come out in the snow and they're in their boots. And it said, all the ad said was, have you ever wondered how the guy that drives the snowplow gets to the snowplow? And then he fires up the Volkswagen Beetle and you see him driving and he's going through and you can barely see anything. There's just snow falling and he's driving through and it's just pushing the snow out of the way. Now, because it had the engine in the back, it's got really good traction control. So he's going and he finally gets to the snowplow and then he parks and he starts driving the snowplow past it. And then it says he takes his Volkswagen Beetle. Wonder no more. That was it. And so they didn't have to tell you about all these amazing features and, oh, it'll do this and it'll do that and everything. They showed you. They painted that picture that it's a snowy day and the plow hasn't even plowed yet. And how does the guy that makes the road safe for the rest of us get to the plow? He takes his Volkswagen Beetle. The message was really clear. And so that's a really good way to demonstrate it. And I feel as detailers in the industry, we're not doing a good enough job. Some shops are nailing it, sure. But I feel as a whole, a lot of people are struggling with demonstrating their product properly. I've seen a lot of ads, seen a lot of videos where people make it and they're showing the super shine or something like that, the final product that you're going to have on the first day that it leaves the shop, and then it goes downhill from there, right? I think highlighting and showing more the whole process of what a customer goes through that experiences those benefits. And what I mean by that is stop thinking in the micro. You're picking up your car today and look how shiny it is. Start thinking more in the macro and showing what that journey is like over time instead. So that embodies the maintenance part of it. So it's, you're getting this coating done and you got your initial clean, and now we've set you up on this maintenance program. And then this is what it looks like through all these different life events. So show them, they're going to a wedding, they're going to a golf course, they're this and that, all these different things that happen that people go through. And I feel that beer commercials and car commercials do this pretty well.
Yep.
They demonstrate, for beer, they demonstrate the fun, the joy, the togetherness. For car commercials, they demonstrate the safety, they demonstrate the cargo space, all these things without actually putting it into words. A lot of times it's just the imagery or the places people go. And so they do a really good job of it. And I feel as detailers and coding installers, everything, we try to get too technical with it. And we try to show what impresses us based on our pride. It's not necessarily where the customer's frame of mind is. And so my tip for today is going to be to reframe how you do your demonstrations and get inside the head of a customer and think about the experience they're having, not just on pickup, not just on day one where it's shiny, but the entire experience of your service not just the product you're using, not just the application and the day that it was installed, but more the entire experience through their journey. This is what it's almost like the before and after journey of watching someone who's exercising, they're trying a new diet and this and that. You're wanting to see day one and then that whole progress thing. We all love those progress videos, we see them online and it's, someone's going through some kind of transformation, or look at many of those DIY build a house shows there are and stuff. We want to see that whole process. I don't want to see just the final where they get the keys to the new house. I want to see the whole process, the journey, and then after it as well. So that's what I challenge everyone to do, is start thinking about the maintenance programs in the way that Marshall was mentioning today, and embody that in video demonstrations that you can put together to showcase to customers. And you could do that by detailing your own vehicle week after week. That's what Marshall suggested. So if you start that process, you can detail that week after week after week, and you could start your own, this is why I love maintenance campaign, and you can start pushing out those benefits and show them in real time. So that's my one major tip for today. And to show you the power of demonstration as well, we all know Crazy Glue. We're all familiar with Crazy Glue. So Crazy Glue, to this day, do you know what's on their label?
Knockoff of
Super
the other glue?
Super Glue, the other glue. So Crazy Glue, to this day, has a man hanging from the K, right? And why is he hanging from the K? Was because they were looking for a way to demonstrate their product in a quick way with very little words that would go viral at the time and appeal to the masses. They've had the same icon on their logo from that day, from this campaign. Prior to that, their logo was different. Then they added the man because they demonstrated the power of Crazy Glue by putting one drop of Crazy Glue on a hard hat and holding up a grown man. And that was their campaign. They showed how strong it was. And then they listed 1,100 things or something that it could hold up. And they said it really quick. They were like, it can hold up, rulers, pencils, da, 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 da. And it just went through a whole thing, right? And so it was a huge campaign, but demonstration of that product was key, right? Now, part of that ad, you might think, oh, well, it's because it held up a grown man. That's the crazy part, right? Like that's what made it go viral. But it was actually all the things that happened afterwards as they were telling the longevity of that journey. It was all the different scenarios where this played out. It wasn't just holding up that man. It was
Because how many of us wear hard hats and need something to, right?
exactly. And that's what I'm getting at, is that so many of us, we put out what we think is impressive about what we're selling, but it's all the other stuff. So when they started doing all their subsequent ads and they would show, I don't know, a woodworker trying to hold two things together or something, and he was struggling with it or something. And then, so that's his journey in his life. They would show that process. And then, a teacher was trying to do something with the kids or something, build a little craft, and it wasn't, oh, Crazy Glue. It's all those different little mini stories that painted the picture by demonstrating the product in use, right? And it was the real world examples. So that's where I think that's where we need to go anyway. But then my last thing for today, I promise, because I did have a bouquet, but I'll try and wrap it up and keep it. So
Hey, listen, like we said, man, the amount that it's like a flower truck. So
it
you
is.
just got to at
And it's
least
like,
pick one and start going to town.
seriously, like you just take one of our tips and go to town. Exactly. So, man, literally week after week, it's crazy. Consistently, we've just been dropping. Every one of our tips could be so transformational in your business that could turn it into seven figures. Just that one tip. And we've been doing this consistently. It's crazy. But so speed bumps is where I'm going to transition into next. So we're going through a tough time for a lot of us. Other people are flourishing, so on and so forth. At our shop, we've just been consistent, but consistent with growth. I was talking with another shop owner not far from us. He's only maybe about, I don't know, 15 miles away. And I was talking with him, and he's been going through a tough time right now. He's a coatings only shop. So, which is an interesting approach. He was sending all of his maintenance customers to us. He also listens to the podcast. And so I won't mention any names, but he recently, after our last couple episodes, has started offering maintenance, which is fantastic.
Wow, damn.
There we go. Exactly. Now, a lot of people might think that that's crazy that, I'm offering to help a shop that's technically, I guess, a competitor in a way,
15 miles
but
away.
it's not. It's 15 miles away. Absolutely. And also, I know what my brain is and I know the things I'm thinking of doing and stuff like that. And there's also like 2 million cars out here on the road. It's lots to go around. Enough said. That being said, a lot of people, especially here when I was talking with him, he said, I just don't think that the market is really there anymore. And I said, I agree with you for what you're selling. I agree completely. And sometimes you have to change the way you're selling things. So he said, well, I'm going to introduce these maintenance packages, but what I want to do is I want to make them super, super quick. And he said, I want to make it something where I don't have to spend a lot of time. They drop it off and they just get a quick wipe down and they're gone. And I said, listen, I understand that because you want to get back to your coding side of things. And it almost felt like the maintenance stuff seemed like it was beneath him, right? It seemed like it was an issue for his pride. So we had a long talk about it. I've since convinced him to go the other direction, to avoid the alligators, as you say, go the whole path over here. And part of that process was I said, listen, you got to focus on what the customer wants. And at the same time, there's the perceived value. And so I said, you have to introduce speed bumps in your business. Most of the time, I'm Mr. Efficiency. I'm Mr. Automation. Let's figure out ways to make things run faster, smoother, more efficient, just everything. I love efficiencies. However, sometimes you do have to introduce friction into your business, and you do so by way of speed bumps. And so I said, listen, if you're pitching someone an interior, maintenance package or something like that, and you're going to try and highlight benefits that it can be done in, 25 minutes and you're back on the road again because you want them out the door because you don't feel like doing this kind of work. My recommendation is introduce a speed bump instead and tell them it's going to take an hour and a half. Work on the vehicle for 25 minutes if you need to, if you can meet their expectations, and then move on. And he said, well, if I tell them an hour and a half, that they're probably going to think like, oh, like, why is it taking so long or something? I said, actually, it's going to be the opposite. You're going to create that perceived value that it's not just something that they could do themselves in their driveway. And so I brought up, what's that hair care company? Clairol I think it's Clairol. Anyway, one of the hair care companies. Let's just assume it's Clairol. Can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was Clairol. So Clairol introduced a speed bump into their business because they came out with conditioners that did the job in 2 minutes. But if you knew you only had to condition your hair for 2 minutes, you probably wouldn't think it's very effective when you go to the hair salon and your hairstylist puts in a deep conditioner and says, now just let that sit for 30 minutes and I'll be right back. They go, they do some stuff. Customer feels they're getting this, tingly deep, conditioning and everything like that. Hairstylist comes back, finishes their job. So Clairol studied this and they realized that the expectation was set that it takes 30 minutes for a professional deep clean, deep conditioning. So if Clairol now comes out and says, we can do the same thing in 2 minutes, the perceived value isn't there and they're shooting themselves in the foot. What might seem like a benefit, we can do it faster, is actually them shooting themselves in the foot. So that's where you have to create that perceived value. And if there's already an expectation out there that it's going to take so long. So if you think, how long would it take a regular DIY customer to maintain their vehicle? Probably a lot longer than a professional, I imagine, right? If we're doing the exact same things, I'm not saying, well, the professional is going to do extra steps. No, I'm saying if we go pound for pound and we do exactly the same things, I assume the professional should finish it faster with the right products, right process, so on and so forth. So if that expectation is there for your customer already, telling them it's going to be done so much faster is actually shooting yourself in the foot. And so we always talk about streamlining your business, and I'm encouraging people to introduce some road bumps if you need them, because you might have that expectation there. So while we're on the topic of maintenance plans and you're putting these packages together, bear in mind the mindset of the customer, what they're thinking when you're putting these things together. So one thing that we offer is chip fix. So we fix, like, if there's a little chip in your windshield, something like that, literally takes us 5 minutes. We told customers that in the beginning. We can add this onto your package. It'll take 5 minutes. We'll be done. $60 extra. They balked at the price. We thought maybe it's the price. So we tried 45, got more people to say yes. Some people still balked. So I said, hold on a second. Price isn't the problem here. We bumped it back up to 60. And in some cases, we charge 100. And the only thing we changed is we told them we'll need the vehicle for 45 minutes. But since you're already getting a maintenance detail, or you're already getting a clean done, or you're already doing a ceramic coating, or whatever the case is, it'll just be part of that time. We'll do it at the same time. So it's not actually adding any other time, but if you come in a week after the ceramic coating, you know, if you come in some other day, it's going to be you waiting around for 45 minutes, right? So this way they said, oh, you know what? No, get it done at the same time. I don't want to waste 45 minutes down the road. So we introduced a speed bump. All we did was change the time we told them. It still takes the same amount of time, and we're charging them more. They don't balk at the price anymore. They just say, okay. So when you're putting together your packages, take a look at some areas where maybe you might need to make some adjustments, either adding a speed bump or something like that. I'm not talking about saying, oh, I'm going to do a ceramic coating. I need your vehicle for 3 days. That's too big a speed bump. That's, you put up a brick wall. Like, what I'm saying is find areas where there might be speed bumps that you could put in place that are going to impact your sales in a positive way. And if your ceramic coatings are taking you 3 days, I highly recommend reaching out to Marshall, because my goodness, it should not be that kind of a process. Now, on that note, the last thing, not a tip, just the last thing. Well, no, definitely a tip. Reach out to Marshall. Check out the video that he's got out there on Stack. With the well, I saw the sales page, everything. Product looks amazing. Can't wait to try it, and it's going to solve a lot of problems, especially for someone that's looking to get into maintenance. There's ways that you can use this product as well to A, facilitate your job and make it easier, but also B, acquire some customers. And I do have some tips around that I'll hold off for next week. We'll put something together for
Next episode.
I know, next episode. Hey. Sorry. But yeah,
I never hit it right. Like, I even tried it on one of our other ones. I was like, and the next episode, like, I never hit it right, but that is what's always in my mind. Like,
yeah, 100%. But you hit it right. Yeah. Every time. It's funny because every time you've said it to the same thing popped in my head, but yeah, I give it a go.
You youngins don't understand.
Yeah, it's true. Man, we've talked a lot about different generations and time zones on this one. That's crazy. But that's good.
Yeah,
But,
that was back to our true.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, the real one.
That was the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. Snoop Dogg's coming to Ottawa, I think a month and a half or something like that. And I was gonna get tickets to it. I messaged my brother-in-law, and he was like, nah, he's like, he's washed up now. I was like, damn, man, really? Like, I don't know. I was like, I'm still gonna go. That's crazy. But yeah, I was like, man, what are you talking about? He's like, no, it's played out. But everybody nowadays.
He doesn't come to Tulsa, so I don't.
Tornado.
I don't have to worry about that decision.
Yeah, it's fair.
We get who did we get the other day at like a casino? Shit, what was that guy? Thong.
Oh, Cisco.
Cisco, right?
Yeah.
He's making the and Nelly came through.
Yeah. It's getting hot in here. Yeah. Cisco.
I didn't go to that, to your brother, like to that point. Like, I didn't go
that's
see
a little
Nelly
far. Yeah.
at the casino.
Yeah. Yeah, it's no sense. Yeah, and well, the main reason I think too that Snoop Dogg's coming here is he's part like owner, investor in there's a big cannabis farm. Maybe how far is it from here? About an hour from here. He's a huge investor there, and then he was looking to buy. I have no idea why, but buy our hockey team. It's so random, but he was trying to buy. I don't know. There's some weird thing going on there, but I don't know. Sounds like a money laundering thing.
He's gonna sell his weed through the stands.
That's what through the stadium.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
he's a hustler. He
not
goes
a
back in the day.
terrible idea, man.
He's gonna go face-to-face sales straight on the rink.
100%. Yeah, exactly. And you know why? Because he tried the product and he believes in it.
Absolutely, he does.
Absolutely. Good stuff, man. So, hey, guys, great tips. Take one of these tips at least, my goodness, and transform your business. Absolutely. But take them all, overdose on tips. That's fine. Yeah, absolutely. And good stuff. So pay attention next week. We got a really good episode coming. We're going to talk a little bit more about Stack, and introduce that. That's it. Yeah, that's I tried. But anyways, appreciate you, Marshall. See you next week. Absolutely, guys. Tune in. All right. I'll post that video of the Volkswagen commercial too. For the snowplow one. Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool. All right, guys. See you next week.
See ya.
Cheers.